Q&A. Look, she's here, Daphne Zuniga. I'm not going to waste any more time. You know what she's in. Kyle and I are not set up for this. We need celebrities with talent who do the. Okay, here we. How was your photo op?
Oh, it was lovely.
Okay, good. Taking lots of good pictures. Yeah.
Yep.
And Spaceballs fans.
Pictures. Mm-hmm.
Who comes by most of the time? I mean, do you get like Spaceballs fans? Do you get like what's? Because you got like a ton of stuff.
Oh, Spaceballs.
Is it okay?
These Spaceballs for sure. I'm doing a '90s con in September.
Oh.
So I'll be there with some of the Melrose Place cast.
Okay.
I think including Heather Locklear will be there. And
Where's that going to be?
Daytona Beach, Florida.
Nice.
September 13, 14,
Nice.
15. But that's the first one we will have done.
Okay.
And
This is strictly for Melrose Place, for 90s.
the 90s,
Strictly for
yeah.
90s.
So there's a lot of TV
okay.
shows and cast from that.
Okay.
Other than that, the other ones I do are Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so like the Saved by the Bell people were going to be there. I know. We're going to talk all about that. That's yours if you want, but you got your own water there. You mentioned before we get into things, you mentioned Melrose Place. So before I forget, you did tell me, and we were talking about this, so everybody's excited. You do have a podcast.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, so we're all podcasting, no problem, from one podcaster to another. Enjoy the work. Hopefully you have somebody putting it all together for you.
Yes.
So you guys can do. But you're doing a rewatch of Melrose Place.
Melrose Place.
Okay, so how many episodes are there of Melrose Place total?
Like 1,000.
Okay, it was on for a while.
Yeah, and it was back in the day when we shot like 34 episodes a year.
Right.
None of this streamer stuff of like 8 episodes.
10 episodes. Right.
And it leaves us going like, ugh.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want more or if I'm just pissed at you now. Like, it's like a long movie. But yeah, so we
Okay.
have a couple hundred at least. And we just started it. So
Yeah.
we've seen, I think, 4 or 5.
Okay, so you're starting at the beginning, you're just going through.
Yeah,
You're starting
just
episode
going
1. Yeah, okay. So do you know how much work this is going to be, right? Are you in for the long haul? Like for all the episodes?
I mean, apparently, according to the contract, what I understand.
This is legit. This isn't just like you guys getting together as a hobby on the week. Like this was like a whole.
This is iHeartRadio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. La-di-da, man. Okay,
Yeah, they have,
here we
like-
go.
Yeah, they have even a kitchen in their offices, you know.
Free snacks
They
and
know what
Coke.
they're doing is what I really like.
Yeah.
Like they edit it. We just kind of get to, we watched the show the night before. It's
Right.
Courtney Thorne-Smith, Laura Leighton, and myself.
Yeah.
And I played Joe. Then there's Allison and Sydney. Those are the other 2 characters for those of you who are Spaceballs, but not quite Melrose, but maybe your girlfriend watched it or you saw it when you were 3 and you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we just get together and we just have a blast, like trying to remember stories and stuff.
Who drives the bus? Because there's on these rewatch podcasts, somebody's always got to drive the bus. They got to have the notes, they got to have everything. So, are you driving the bus, or somebody keeping you guys all together and bringing it?
So our producer does the notes, like
Yeah.
a whole notes, and then we've watched it the night before and we've made our own notes.
Okay.
It's usually Laura Leighton. She's really good at it, to like, kind of like, well, this is episode blah, blah, blah. And, oh, do you know what song was big in this year? 1992. And,
Here's the guest stars on this episode and all those things, the nuts and bolts kind of stuff, and then you.
So
get
she
started.
kind of does that, and then we can jump in whenever when we're like, oh my God, did you notice, the vest I was wearing in that scene? Oh
Yeah.
my God. Or we just had, 2 of so Courtney Thorne-Smith, who played Allison, and Andrew Shue, who played Billy, were 2 of the leads who were on there from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually fell in love when they met. So they were playing a couple who were getting to know each other. They were roommates and just being friends, but then they were falling in love. So there's all this chemistry. So we've had fun with that. And then we had Andrew Shue on as a guest.
Okay.
And one of my favorite moments, I like when podcasts have like, these moments where it's like, oh, discovery, not just kind of planned or anything. So I said to Andrew, who was our guest, so Andrew, Courtney's been telling us, we understand that you guys fell in love and started dating and your character started dating. But then we hear that you guys broke up, but you had to, in real life and had to keep dating. Was that weird? Was that fine? And Courtney jumps right in. She goes, surprisingly, it wasn't weird at all. And then silence. And then Andrew goes, yeah, we made it work. And then he goes, I remember a while there when it was kind of tough. And then silence again. And I was like, I mean, I didn't bring it up.
Yeah.
She started talking
Okay, yeah,
about
but when
it.
he picks up on that, there's two ways to approach that. If I'm interviewing him, I'm all over that because that's what I want to hear. But you guys are like all friends, but it's like when you hear something like that, who jumped in and went, "We need to hear more about this."
Well, I jumped in and
Yeah.
said, because Courtney wanted to really control the narrative, you could tell.
Okay.
Oh, it was fine, and this
Right.
from her point of view.
Right.
But I said, "Shush! I want to hear what Andrew has to say."
Yes, there you go.
Because sometimes podcast people, we talk over the person too much. We need to let the guest talk more. I think when I
Yes. I have not. I don't have that problem whatsoever.
You don't?
I'm kidding. I just did it too.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're
Still
going.
the place.
Well, how do you take your notes? Like when you're watching, like, are you writing things down? Are you pausing? Are you going back to like
Pause and I'll
Yeah.
go back. I watched the episodes probably at least twice through.
Oh, okay. So not just a cursory.
No, I just want to watch it so I really remember because there's, you pick up everything. I just want to know I just want to feel like I know what I'm talking about when we record the next morning.
Right.
Because it was 30 years ago.
Right. Right.
So-
And you probably forgot like a bunch of things. Oh my God, I forgot so-and-so was a
Yeah.
guest on that episode. Well, what's the name of the podcast?
Still the place.
Still the Place. So I heard you subscribe, like, follow.
Yeah.
You know how to do
love
it. Do all the things.
Yeah.
Clickety click right now and get on the podcast. So
What I like about it also is like it gives us something to talk about. We go through scene by scene and we just but it also gets us to talk about a whole other era that all of us like can remember
right.
and kind of back in the 90s when things were different and whatever.
Right.
So what we're wearing, the music that's on the soundtrack. It's fun to revisit another era.
What's blown you away the most of either a style or something you said or a way maybe you performed or acted a certain scene? Like what did you just go, oh, okay, that was different?
I mean, hairspray,
Yeah.
for one. The hair is constantly, and I remember because I was in the makeup trailer and, there were 5 women and the poor guys are on the end. So I remember the hairspray, Courtney's always just curled and like the Brett girl. And, mine had so much spray because I do this all the time. I just do this and like whatever. And so they had to put so much spray so I wouldn't keep doing that because you have to match every scene, every angle has to match visually or it would just be like,
We see that if it's flipped to one side and then all of a sudden it's completely different than the next thing or
the
careful
hairspray, the shoulder
pads.
The makeup itself. There's a lot of makeup going on, and also the men are constantly shirtless in our show. We noticed that.
Yeah, there was a lot of that in the 90s.
A lot of that. I mean, and so that's what we asked all of them. We asked them, did you remember that? And how was that for you? And Andrew was like, oh yeah, I remember it being cold on that soundstage. It was, but like walking out of the apartment, bare chested, just walking out of anywhere. It was really funny. Any chance I got.
It's fun when you watch Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum do the Smallville rewatch podcast, and they realize how many times he had to be shirtless. And he was always like, there better be a reason, there better be something legit that I'm in here, and it's not just because it was, the CW and the aughts. So
yeah, well. I think they, when you're first starting, you kind of do whatever you're told because you don't want to get fired or whatever.
Right.
And then, so that's the stage we're in because we've just started. We're only in episode 6 of the very first season.
Yeah.
So, but we remember later, and I remember Grant, just like, what?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. I'm going shopping or something.
Right. Shirtless in the produce section.
They would start to say no.
Yeah. Well, because you have to get like jacked for that too. It's like, if you're just wearing a shirt, it's a whole different scene. You don't have to like exercise or do sit-ups or crunches right before.
Well, they're not mortals. We asked them. I said, Grant, all right, because I've had other actors who'd be in the back before we're about to shoot, like doing push-ups and, pumping up the muscles. And I go, would you do push-ups? I don't remember you doing them. He's like, no. And then same with Andrew. He was just born with this. Andrew played soccer with the Galaxy, the Los Angeles team. So he's like, anyway, so.
Gifted. The last time you and I shared a stage was 7 years ago. It was at the Cincinnati Comic Expo. It was the 30th anniversary of Spaceballs. And obviously it had come out like, would you do a sequel? Will there be a Spaceballs 2? And you're like, they want to do it. I remember you saying they want to do it. If Rick Moranis were in Mel would do it. I remember you telling me this. That seems all ringing a bell, hopefully. They're doing it. They're doing Spaceballs too. Was Josh Gad, I think, is that? Okay, so you know this, right? You've been asked?
I know this because when that press came out, it was I was surprised by it because I hadn't heard anything about it. And then and I was like, Josh Gad, what's happening here?
Right.
And then that afternoon, I got a call from Mel, and he said, no, I got an email from his producer who said Mel would like to talk to you anytime this week. Good. And I said, sure. So he called me and said, this thing was leaked. We're in the deal making process. You're my princess. Once the script is done, we'd love to send it to you.
Okay.
And I said, so that's the first time I knew that it was real.
Right.
Because he had announced something 5 years ago, and he was working on it with Tommy Meehan, his writer for the original Spaceballs, and Tommy died. I knew that. And so then I heard nothing since the last time I spoke with you.
Okay.
Until a month ago
Right.
when it was released.
So
it's in talks with Amazon as far as I know.
okay.
And then Josh Gad has followed me on Instagram, and he's commented, and then I commented on him, and then he DM'd me. I'm looking forward to working with you, and I'm like, it's real.
So when you say it's real, I know actors are always like, I'll believe it when the check clears, or I'll believe it when it's on, when it airs. I know all those things, but this seems pretty legit. Like this could happen. And is going to happen. Okay. When you say, well, I think Mel's in if Rick Moranis is in, are you telling us something? Can you, is Rick Moranis in this thing or not? I know. Can you tell us?
I have no idea.
Okay.
That's the truth. When I said that back then, Mel had mentioned it. I got Daphne, I got Bill, and I want to get Rick. And Rick has kind of famously retired or something. So he's trying to get him out of retirement to do it. That's why I said it back then. I haven't heard anything about now.
Okay.
Maybe, I'm sure he's still trying, and I don't know what
but
the answer
you know how
will be.
things work, and you have I would imagine you have a very good relationship with Mel. I mean, he got you into Fly too, I think, at that time. So if anybody could get Rick Moranis out of retirement,
it's Mel. It's not me.
it would be Mel. Like Mel could
Mel.
do that. He would probably. Okay.
He really wants him,
He didn't come out for Ghostbusters.
I mean, isn't Rick in a helmet the whole?
Well, yeah.
Somebody.
Can you CGI his face or something and just pop it in for a second and have somebody imitate him? Yeah.
So he really wants him, it sounds like, and I don't know.
But you're in, but you don't know anything about the story yet.
Well, I did say to him, Mel, I think that she'd be a queen by now.
Yes.
And I think I heard an affirmative or a chuckle at least.
Yeah.
So.
You working on your improv skills? The hair thing was yours, right? Like they shot my hair?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just had the reason that I dared to suggest something to the great Mel Brooks back in the day with John Candy on set was I just felt comfortable. And there's also a wonderful comfort with being young and naive, and you don't, know whose feet you're stepping on.
Yes.
And you're just like, I don't want to run back in the Winnebago. What if I say, ow, my hair, and then like they shoot it. And then I'd be like, and it worked.
Yes.
And he was very open.
Yeah.
Great masters like that are just open to where it comes from. You
Yeah.
know, like that's what he and Rick were like. He and John were like that,
Okay.
constantly working off each other.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say there wasn't any improv, but there was, when you get to this part, if someone had an idea to rework it, then they would rework it. And then they would get the cameras rolling and then work the new bit.
Okay. Best idea wins.
Yeah,
And always gets
exactly.
in. Are you looking at Star Wars films now, trying to find something? Okay. All right. I'm just trying to what kind of preps are you doing? If you guys have some questions, I could do this all day long, but if you guys have questions, there's a microphone.
I have to interrupt you for a minute.
Please do.
Because I'm also a
Because you're a
podcast.
podcast person, and that's what we do.
Interrupt you.
Yes, please do.
So I don't follow any of the Star Wars movies. I need you guys' help. If I am to do some prep, because now you got me worried, what should I watch? I'm totally serious.
Oh, this is a tough question for me.
Haven't there been like 10 or 11 of them or something?
There are many.
I mean, what do you think Josh Gad and Mel would take from the whole thing? It wouldn't be just the first one. like I probably would be doing mocking of another character.
It would not surprise me if Mel Brooks were to have a version of Jar Jar Binks. I mean, is that fair to think that something, it's things that look, you can't make fun of my family, but I can make fun of my family. So it's things that we can, as Star Wars fans, we can watch them and make fun of them.
Yeah.
So there are many things in newer Star Wars films that frustrate us and that we make fun of, but we can. So there are Jar Jar Binks, I would say, being one of them.
Which episode is that? What movie?
Those are like the prequels. So you have
Just give me a title. Just tell me what
The
movie
Phantom
I watched.
Menace.
Phantom Menace.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's it.
The man, he's probably going to sneak a lot. I don't want to blow her mind up with Star Wars. There's too much.
Like the biggest
too much Star Wars
sci-fi
product out there. There's there's the little baby Yoda. There's probably going to be a baby Yoda. So yeah, if you have yogurt in Spaceballs, there's probably going to be baby yogurt.
Baby yogurt.
So there, you can. There's a reference for you.
A little single serve to
You're already doing the prep works. We don't need
You're
it.
prepping me for Mel.
I'm doing my best. We're all doing our best. So if you guys have questions, jump on the mic. Please do. But again, I could do this all day. Born in San Francisco, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, and we talked a little bit about this in Cincinnati a little bit. So after your parents divorced, it was you, your mom, your sister. You moved to Vermont.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you were very imaginative child, right?
Yes.
Like that was sort of where the performing, like how to take us into that little world and then maybe back to LA after that.
Okay. Because I didn't have a TV growing up.
Right.
So you had to be, I think I was born just creative and, and then I had two parents who were very kind of out of the box like that. So there was not a lot of confinement. And so I just was very imaginative and had to be because we didn't have a TV. So we were in Vermont. I came here in 10th grade to Vermont and they didn't have a theater department. So I had to start one. So I went to my English teacher. You guys have to have a theater department. I've already started professional acting school in San Francisco and I left there for here. I need a theater department. I need to do plays. And so they went together and we got a theater department going and they brought in a teacher and I started to do plays there. And then I just kept it all going. I did summer stock in New England, and then I applied to college. And when I got back to LA, I went to UCLA for theater, and started doing plays there. And then also being, that wonderful thing where you don't know you're not supposed to do something. I was 17 when I went to UCLA, and I think probably when I was 18 or something, I started sending my picture out to things I saw in the ad. We had a thing, it was kind of like backstage. It was called Drama Log. And it was sort of like in the back of Variety or something, they would have parts that were casting. So I didn't have an agent or anything. I was just at UCLA and I sent out a picture and resume and I got a call. Remember answering machines? Those are all over Melrose Place. By the way.
Cassette tape?
Yeah.
Have a cassette tape?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I got home and there was a message there and to come in to this casting office at Fox, next to Fox. And I went in and the woman goes, the casting director's like, oh, Daphne, well, who's your agent? Because I didn't have it. I just had a hand-typed resume. And I said, I don't have an agent. And she goes, well, how did you get in here? As if I said, I sent my picture in and you called me. So anyway, I read for a couple of movies, big movies.
Yeah.
Didn't get them, but she remembered me. And then I got an agent.
Nice.
Through a roommate. So that's how that all started. I was at UCLA.
Can you tell us who was in your acting class? Do you remember?
Acting class?
Mm-hmm. I think this was at UCLA.
Well,
Unless my research is a little bit off, in your acting class, I saw Nicolas Cage.
okay. So that wasn't UCLA.
Okay.
They weren't at UCLA. So that was, I know what you're going to say, that it was an amazing star-studded generation.
Like, where was that?
That was called the Loft Studio in Hollywood with Peggy Fury and her husband, William Ball.
Okay.
William, not Ball, that was ACT. Let's say Peggy Fury's husband, Bill. He was amazing. He taught improv. She taught scene study. And then you tell me who was in my class. Nick Cage.
Nick Cage was in there. Laura Dern. Meg Ryan. Did you share a place with Meg Ryan?
I did.
Okay. So there's that. Eric Stoltz. Meg Tilly. Sean Penn. Michelle Pfeiffer.
That's all I got. I mean, it was ridiculous. I think Peter Horton. Who else? Well, that's good.
That's just amazing. I think of that era, and I know, but it was just coming out of it. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Spaceballs. I've got to ask you about look, we talked a lot about things before, but I had to ask you about your film debut. I do want to ask you that. And it is on YouTube, and I did get to watch it.
Okay.
And it's a movie called Pranks.
Okay.
Okay. And it was also known as
The Dorm That Dripped Blood.
Yeah, The Dorm That Dripped Blood.
Some of you know that because you've brought things for me to sign.
Oh, you signed The Dorm That Dripped Blood? You signed things like that?
Pranks, or maybe.
Okay.
Maybe The Initiation, actually. So that was a student film.
Okay. It was a Carpenter horror film.
Carpenter?
It was a Carpenter horror film. Stephen Carpenter.
Oh, okay.
The great Stephen Carpenter.
Okay.
But he's not watching this.
Okay.
Yeah. Thankfully, you're not in the movie much. You're in it for like 15 minutes. But the way you're dispatched in this movie, do you remember how
I got my head run over by a car?
Yeah, you got your head run over by a car. This thing is... Yeah, spoiler alert, she doesn't make it out 15 minutes in. But for those interested, this stuff I just love digging back through. But like, there is a Blu-ray uncensored director's cut of this film.
Really?
Yes, it's available.
So just so you know, that was a student film at UCLA.
Okay.
And a film student there, Jeff, I don't remember his name. Jeffrey Arbro?
Yeah, the audio commentary, he's on it.
Okay.
So if you want to go get that, you can watch the audio
He
commentary.
apparently had well-to-do parents because that thing cost $20,000 maybe.
Yeah.
And they bankrolled it, and you wouldn't know it was even $20,000.
Every penny of that is on the screen. Every penny of that $20,000 is on the screen.
I mean, the blood they used when my head got crushed was like, that was like thanks to the parents.
Okay.
But we shot it in the dorms and the co-ops, I think, at UCLA, and filmed that at night mostly. But I didn't know that was going to go anywhere. I just thought it was a student film. But my first real legit
one
film was also a horror film called Initiation.
Yes.
And I've signed some of those too. And that was a Paramount film, but I was ready for my first film because
But this was a lead role. That was a lead role too.
Yeah.
And Psycho's Vera Miles is in it.
Yep.
Clu Gulager. Yes. James Reed.
Yep.
Who I think was on Remington Still for a long time.
Yep.
But okay. I bring those up because you got to play two roles in that one, which is cool. Like, because don't you try to kill yourself?
Yes, I played evil twins.
Evil twins. Yes.
So one was evil and going after. She was jealous of the nice one. So it was in 1983.
Yeah.
And there was no CGI. There was nothing. This fancy tech stuff. There was split screen. So literally, this is what we would do. They would shoot it 50-50, and I would do half the scene with whoever over there, like someone reading the lines, and then they would say, great, freeze, lock it off. The camera would lock it off. I would run in, change, mess my hair up, prepare, and then get over here and be like, I hate you. And then I'd go like this on this side of the screen. Then they would edit it together. And so it looked like
the disturbed version.
And then we got it fancy, and we would do over the shoulders, like when I was joking myself.
Yeah.
So, I was so exhausted and so happily exhausted from all the work I put into that.
It's amazing. They're both on YouTube. It's just like when I'm digging deep into this.
YouTube?
They are both on YouTube, yeah, so you can catch them both. But it's just like, I love going back because I know you from Family Ties, I know you from The Short Thing, and I love the juxtaposition of that because it's like when you're filming these things, it's got to be like, oh my God, I hope nobody sees this student film or whatever with my head exploding under the car, right? And then next thing you know, you're stealing scenes from Michael J. Fox. Like almost the same year, I think, or almost. And then you couldn't be the girlfriend because you got the Sure Thing.
I mean, how do you, I got work to do as a podcast host. You do amazing research. Yes. I was a guest star set up to be Michael J. Fox's girlfriend on Family Ties. I did 2 episodes, and then I got The Sure Thing, which was a wonderful rom-com that directed by, I was amazing. Rob Reiner directed it, this newcomer that nobody knew called John Cusack, and myself. Tim Robbins, who I went to UCLA, is in that, and Lisa Jane Persky. But at any rate, I read the script, and my agents were like, definitely do that. And then we had to go to Gary David Goldberg and Michael J. Fox and say, she's going to go do this movie. And Michael was like, fine, go off and be a big movie star, see if we care. And because then people were either doing TV or movies. You didn't really do both. Right. But then he really broke the mold.
Yeah, and teaching them Back to the Future. Yes, you guys had it all. You guys took over the 80s. That was the cool
what's
thing.
cool about that is that Tracy Pollan came in and took my place.
Yeah.
And then they met, fell in love, and they're still married.
Yeah. So you're this close to being Mrs. Michael J. Fox.
Well,
I know.
about that.
In a weird alternate universe, maybe they could have been.
That's cool.
No, it was the episodes are great if you haven't seen them, but it's like, he has a date and then and then he goes out.
Yeah. The other girl is Jamie Gertz.
Yes. Yeah. And then you both end up at the same place. It's at a prom. Oh my God. It's great stuff.
Who to say, he invited 2 ladies. He thought he'd work it,
Yeah.
And then
Skippy's trying to, Skippy, look, if you haven't seen Family Ties, I know I feel so old now, but it's just like, just watch it because Skippy's like trying to.
No Family Ties.
Okay.
With you.
Okay, this is a safe space. This is a safe space.
Such a fun show.
I know.
Such a fun
I
show.
could watch those over and over again, but again, you guys are all stealing scenes from Michael J. Fox, which is impossible to do.
Yeah.
Yet you pull it off, and I think that's probably why. I mean, you end up in Spaceballs. I think you got Spaceballs through The Sure Thing because of
Rob Reiner?
Rob Reiner's dad knew. Yeah, it's just amazing.
Well, and also to your point, years later, after Melrose Place, even the late 90s, maybe I was. They called me to come do a guest star on Spin City. That Michael J. Fox played the mayor. So they called me to come do a guest star. Gary David Goldberg called me personally, and I was like, okay, well, what's the story? What's the part? He goes, well, you steal Michael J. Fox's sperm. And I was like, excuse me? Yeah, you put them in the freezer, and it's the whole thing. It's funny. It's work. I go, I'll be there. Just tell me where to go. So anyway, it was that kind of role where I had to be, that those sitcoms are really, you'd have to know comedy. You have to have timing. And I wasn't a pro at that. But Michael, I was hitting one line in there that I thought was, I guess this is good. And Michael just leaned over and goes, Daph, it's funny. It works. It's good. Solid. But if you wait one more beat, you'll take the house down. I'm like, really? So just that he knew that. And so he did. I just led one more beat of silence, and then I went, oh, well, whatever it was.
And it worked.
And it really worked.
Yeah, you could see the slow burn on Family Ties. Do you have a question? Do we have an audience question? Yeah. Jump, name and where you're from?
Hi.
Hi, my name is Michael. I'm from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And I have the biggest Melrose Place mystery that my friends had about the show that only you can answer.
Yes.
So at the end of season 4,
Yes.
Joe leaves the show with Dr. Dominic O'Malley to go photograph Doctors Without Borders in Bosnia.
Yes.
The very first episode of season 5, when Matt advises Amanda, who owned Melrose Place at the time that you left the show.
Wow, you need to come on. I don't even remember any of this.
I may have rechecked the details right before the con, before they came to the pan, I'm not going to lie. But when she was advised, Amanda said, well, I don't even care. I don't care if she's on the moon. She is not getting her deposit back. So my question for you is, did Joe ever get her deposit back?
Wow.
I think the problem with Jo is that she wasn't great with money and she picked bad men. So I think did you see how cute Dr. O'Malley was, by the way?
It was really cute, yeah.
Michael, do you remember? What a great actor. And what was his name? Brad Johnson. He was the Marlboro Man. Is you hear where I'm going? Like, did she care about her? But no, I'm in Bosnia, landmines everywhere, but look who I'm with. So that's kind of how I feel Jo was. And I think she was just ready to be out of there anyway and move on to her adventures. And then they did not a very good, but they did a remake in 2009 or something that I did a couple episodes on. And she was now working in they had Jo working in South America at the food shortage, whatever. So she got that probably from the Bosnia thing, but they just carried that on where she was doing all this meaningful stuff for National Geographic or something. I think she wanted to move out of the apartment, but yeah, no, she did not get it back.
Well, that's too bad. But I just want to say thank you so much. And her podcast really is great, so you should totally listen to it.
Thank you, Michael.
Promoting the podcast.
Thank you, Michael, for sure. We are going to have, eventually, we're going to have super fans on and people that love the show and they remember stuff and they want to talk about it.
I know they're doing that with the Talkville podcast. They'll have the Patreons, they'll come in and they can come in and ask questions live, or they'll have like an interview with them or something they can ask questions.
You need to be our mentor.
That's very cool. I would love to be all that. So, look, I know we got a late jump today, but if you can stick around just a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Spaceballs, though, I mean, I know you've talked it today. I get it. We've talked about it a million times. There's a billion stories out there. But what, and we've lost John Candy over and things like that. What do you remember fondly about your time shooting Spaceballs? Because to us, it seems like you guys had a fun time shooting it. I know those can be laborious and long days and things.
Yeah.
But what do you recall?
Especially with Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
He's famous for doing multiple takes. He's famous. In fact, when I saw him somewhere, I don't remember where, maybe his AFI tribute, but he would just hold my face as he always does. He said, "I'm so sorry, I did so many takes," like 25 years later. And I'm like, thank you. But the truth is, I was 25. I had a birthday, or 24 or something. I had a birthday on set. We were out in the desert doing those scenes, and someone went off to Yuma and got us a birthday cake and said, "Here's her birthday," and I was the happiest I had ever been at that point.
Yeah.
And so to do multiple takes, I just kept pinching myself, honestly. I mean, especially in the desert, and it was sandy and you're hot, and I have a picture at home actually framed of me lifting up a cooler, reaching for Diet Cokes in between shots with my glasses on, just with my sunglasses on, offering them to a dink. Do you guys remember the dinks out in the desert? Like those little dink. Like they were hot,
Yeah.
in the sun. But I just have a picture of handing a Diet Coke to one. But overall, it was just like I was in heaven.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe, and for a young woman like myself, just starting out, being in just a princess dress, the whole movie reminded me, this is not normal, kid. Enjoy it.
Were you a fan of Mel Brooks, Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles? Were you?
Not really.
Okay.
But as you've established, I'm a very good researcher, and I throw myself into the parts. So I watched all of his movies beforehand,
Nice.
and I wanted to just get, I knew him as a person at that point for a month, because he led me on for a month before he actually made the offer. So, he took me down into MGM, and he'd show me the sets. He'd show me, this is going to be your spaceship. This is Don Feld, who's going to make your princess thing. And yet he didn't offer it. So my agents and I were very confused. Anyway, a month later, he finally offered it. So I only knew him as that.
Yeah.
So I had to watch all of his movies.
At that point, you had to be like, "Oh, we're in different comedic territory here."
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
How did you adapt to that? Just sort of it's completely different comedically than anything else.
Yes. I think it's instinctual. I had to feel myself into it, and watching his movies, I know I could never be Terry Garr or Gene Wilder or any of the Madeline Kahn. I was just but I knew I could trust him.
Yeah.
And, when he did these multiple takes, I remember, I forget what scene it was, probably not even a big scene, but he kept doing them. And I'm like, "Mel, what am I doing wrong? What can I do that you'll be happy?" And he's like, "Oh my God, aren't we having fun? I just want to do another one. Come on, it's perfect. You're my perfect princess." And
My Jewish princess.
I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Wow.
So you just trust
You
him.
were literally in good hands. I mean, point. It's just
I look
amazing.
forward to
Can
doing
you
it.
do a Mel Brooks? Can you do a Spaceballs too? Like, he's going to go full tilt, right? Like, he's going to.
What do you mean?
It's just a different. 2024 is much different than the 70s and
Do you
80s.
mean, like, can he have the same kind of humor?
Yeah, it's like so much of it is politically incorrect. I
Yes,
think so much of us
question.
we were in on the joke. I think we were like everybody watching it was in on the joke, and it's kind of like Monty Python, where like it's
Anything goes.
and you offend everybody equally, and nobody escapes, nobody gets out alive.
Right.
And I think when you're that, we just all sort of come together in a weird kind of way. But like, can you?
Well, also society was different then.
Yeah.
We weren't politically correct. And
Yeah.
it was, I think some of it was just like, yeah, that's funny at somebody else's cost. But he did do recently
We were talking about before you got
History.
the History of the World Part
so was
2.
that politically correct or was that old fat OG?
Yeah, and see, I'll be honest, I did not see those episodes, but you saw them. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So there's
You don't
there's
think it would be great?
maybe
This-
pulling a few punches.
It would be great to like be Mel. Mel's always going to be Mel.
Yeah.
But even Mel has, Mel has limits. Like it's not so much like the offensiveness, it's like the comedy of it. He's like, this is not funny. I remember it because I did the animation series with him.
Right.
And he was in the room and someone else wrote these scripts. And he read this one and he's like, who wrote this? I mean, it was too hyper sexually insulting and gross. And he's like, I don't want to. And he just was like, we're done for today. Someone's going to rewrite this and we'll be back next
Brilliant.
week. So
gets it.
he knows, but
He's watching.
I think it would be great if, I don't know Josh Gad's humor, it'd be interesting if they could do like, this is full on Mel Brooks, but we know it's 2024. So can we even do a nod to that? That would be funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're trying to do Mel Brooks, but I don't know. It'd be funny to.
We would have said this, but now we have to say something. I mean, you could even just go full tilt like that. It's going to be amazing no matter what it is. We're so glad you're going to be a part of it. We know the podcast. We got that coming up. Everybody's already subscribed
Still
in
the
the
place.
audience.
Yeah.
And what else is next for you?
Well, we also were working on. There's a reboot in the works. That's taking so long, but we would love that to go, a reboot for Melrose Place.
Okay. All right.
With the OGs. We have them all, we're all still friends. That's why we have them on the podcast.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
we'll see. That's in talks with the studio and network.
Okay, so this is teasing us for that coming up ahead. And you're on the socials. We can just follow you all over the place.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram mostly. I don't think I'm on anywhere else anymore.
Okay. You're here all weekend.
Yes.
There's a million things on your table to sign. There's a million questions to ask you. I am so glad we got together again and had a chance to talk.
do this for-
We should do this. No, let's not
Over
wait 7 years.
7
Yes, not
years.
wait 7 years to do this. Daphne Zuniga, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Hey,